In this video, I'm going to be telling you about the changes USO recently announced in their SEC filing on May 21st, 2020, and what that means for you if you are currently invested in this fund. And we're going to be starting right now. What is going on? My name is Pat from Top Ticker Trades. If this is your first time here and you want to learn how to grow your wealth through trading and investing in the stock market, make sure you start now by subscribing and tapping that bell so you never miss a video. Yo, you down with USO? I'm just kidding. So most investors buying or holding USO have done so under the presumption that they are actually investing in a fund that tracks oil prices as closely as possible. Unfortunately for them, for us, for USO is not able to deliver on that right now, seeing as how they just got their chopped off by RBC. So what's RBC? RBC is the Royal Bank of Canada. So right now you're probably asking yourself, why is USO, which is the United States Oil Fund, in cahoots with the Royal Bank of Canada? And you know what? I'm kind of wondering the same thing right now. And by golly, I'm about to start demanding some answers. USA! USA! USA!
Duh.
Alright, so here's what I've come up with. So it looks like RBC is USO's FCM? That's 3 acronyms in one sentence. I think that sets a world record. But what in the world is an FCM? Well, it stands for Futures Commission Merchant. Long story short, an FCM is a broker of sorts. USO has to go through RBC in order to buy and sell futures contracts. And of course, RBC earns commissions from these transactions. Like I said, broker. So let's take a second to talk about the relationship between RBC and USO, and let's talk about how, when, and where it all started. On October 8th, 2013, USCF entered into a futures and cleared derivatives transactions customer account agreement with RBC Capital Markets, or RBC Capital for short, to serve as USO's FCM. This agreement requires RBC Capital to provide services to USO as of October 10th, 2013, in connection with the purchase and sale of oil interests that may be purchased or sold by or through RBC Capital for USO's account. It's important to note that USO is in a really big pickle here because RBC is USO's only FCM, unfortunately, yeah. So historically, USO has achieved its investment objective by primarily investing in the benchmark futures contract and oil futures contract for light sweet crude oil traded on NYMEX and ICE futures with the same maturity month as the benchmark futures contracts. So allow me to add this very quickly. Do you guys remember a couple of months ago when USO just kept going downtown? That's because they were only holding contracts that were essentially a month out. Okay, so what ended up happening is that they ended up restructuring their portfolio and the way that they do things, and they started buying futures contracts that went out, let's say 6 months or whatnot, which helped them diversify and take some of the risk off the table. And that's when we actually saw, some improvement to the share price of USO. Otherwise, the way they were set up, even though the price of oil was going up, I believe that the actual share price of USO would have continued to go down. And I believe that to be due to the fact that, they were holding short-term positions. So the premiums on those contracts, were just decaying. And then they were having to fork out more money for another contract that was, a month away from expiration. So it wasn't a very good strategy for that time frame, which is why they started going, they restructured everything and started going like at least 6 months out, which helped at the time. But now we are in a different position. The position I'm referring to, I guess, goes back to our friends at RBC, who are going to impose some risk mitigation measures. And they're basically not allowing USO to trade futures contracts anymore, or the benchmark futures contracts. So this is primarily what, USO trades, or now used to trade. So it's kind of screwing them over, and it's kind of screwing over the people that are holding, USO. And the position we are in basically goes back to our friends at RBC, who decided to impose some risk mitigation measures. And these risk mitigation measures restrict USO from purchasing the benchmark oil futures, the benchmark oil futures contracts that they would normally be trading. So USO stated that they did not have a time frame for when they might expect these restrictions to be lifted, and they do not know if they will ever be lifted. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where this gets dangerous. There aren't many options here if the restrictions are not lifted. I mean, I suppose that USO could try to find a new FCM. Maybe they could find one that doesn't place any crazy limits or restrictions on them. But if they're not able to do so, they may be forced to liquidate, which would be very bad. As of now, USO's portfolio is filled with a lot of treasuries, but just a little bit of oil. So they're holding a lot more treasuries than oil. What in the heck is that about? This entire situation is just giving me a headache. Anyhow, now we've come to the conclusion of this video, ladies and gentlemen. This is the part where I tell you that I am not a financial advisor. I am not an expert. I am a YouTuber. So please go do your own due diligence. Do not follow my advice. You will lose money unless you make money. But chances are you'll lose money because I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so do not follow my recommendations. But personally, I am not going to be buying any more USO at this time. And I am not holding a position in USO. I have, a tiny position in one of my accounts that I don't ever fool with. But I will probably be selling it. I think there's too much uncertainty. We don't know what the heck's going to happen, but it doesn't sound good. Personally, I don't like to gamble. So yeah, any position that I have will be closed, and I will not be opening any new positions in this ETF until we get some clarity here, until we know what the heck's going on. All right? So you heard it from me first, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, right. Anyhow, so this is the part where I say, hey, thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with me until the end of this video. If you still are here, if you're not, then I do not thank you, but I thank you for watching up to the point that you did watch up to. And now this is the part where I have to tell you, don't be sad and don't you cry. This is not farewell and it's not goodbye. This is my way of telling you that I will see you in the next video.